This is also live streaming on our Brilliant Labs YouTube channel. A big shout out to Josh making this happen and doing all kinds of behind the scenes work. There's a lot of brilliance that goes into maintaining all these virtual presence, although they feel very real. I've yet to find the perfect fade out of that music. I should have timed it to the end of the beat there. Welcome, everyone, to our first of many Brilliant Labs Making a Difference speaker series. Thank you so much for everyone who has demonstrated interest, hit the register button, and have somehow landed to this brilliant purple virtual presence that we have here. I'd like to welcome our three esteemed panelists. There's not enough adjectives to really throw at you, but we are so happy to have you accepted our invitation. First up, we have Beth Stevens. Beth, feel free to unmute your mic before I go on and say a hello.
Hi, I'm Beth. I'm from Riverview. I'm in grade 11.
Beth, thank you so much. Next to Beth, we have David, co-founder of Brilliant Labs and just a few odd other initiatives. David, if you want to say a quick hello.
I like how you used odd. You really covered off the odd part, right? Well, why not? Yes, David, and I'm dialing in or coming to you from Grand Bay in New Brunswick.
Perfect. Thank you, David. And Keith, you and I talked a little bit about the wind here in Fredericton in the pre-show. Keith, where are you coming from today?
I'm coming from just up the street from George Street on corner of Regent and Charlotte. And power's back on here now, and hopefully it stays that way.
Perfect. Well, this is just incredible. As I mentioned, there are over 30 schools joining us. It's our intention to have really meaningful conversations in a way that is accessible to anyone who is interested. And so this is our first go at organizing a speaker series for audiences in grade 6 and up. And so when we calculated, I think we have, no pressure to our panelists, but 400 odd students, odd, I mean, and that number may fluctuate, not odd as in any other connotation, but thank you so much for all of us joining. Our three panelists are going to be incredibly modest, and I'd like to introduce them. Beth, already her modesty was presented. She's a grade 11 student and an inventor herself from a few years ago. David, entrepreneur, co-founder of Brilliant Labs, and Keith, a social entrepreneur. So we're going to get started here. The structure today, we're going to spend about 45 minutes having fun, and then we'll have some question and answer, a Q&A for about 20 minutes thereafter. So any of you who have some questions along the way, feel free to save them and unmute your microphone at the end, or you can feel free to dive into a back channel conversation using the public chat. Starting with Beth, if the few of you can't tell us a little bit about yourselves and a recent venture or any venture that you have had, that would be great. I won't interrupt in between you. Beth, David, and Keith, you can feel free to jump in after the previous panelists. Take it away.
Hi. Oh, I'm going to go first. Hi, everybody. I'm Beth. I'm the inventor and founder of Beth's Bike Light. So I started in grade 7 as a middle school project, and all it is a light that shows drivers how much room to give cyclists on the road. So it attaches on the left side of your bike, and then it shoots down 1 meter. So it started small, and it started as like a big kind of bulky battery with lots of wires. I don't know, it's pretty interesting first prototype, but that's just about the venture of an innovation, right? So from there, it's just grown into a little small business. I just launched a website in March. You can go check it out. I'll put the link down below at the end maybe. And yeah, that's a little bit about me.
You can go next, Keith.
It's like ordering from a menu. I was letting you guys go first, hoping I get an idea what to say. I'm Keith Mcintosh. I'm an entrepreneur, I guess. I grew up on a farm, which is the world's first, or maybe the second oldest entrepreneurial business, and learned right from the very start that you working hard and trying to make a difference gets you ahead in the world, and both from economically but also most farmers are part of the community, and I've chosen with my business to be both a for-profit business and a social impact business as well. And I think that the two things are absolutely not mutually exclusive. In fact, that they complement each other, and I'm attempting to prove that.
Well, I think you all are definitely beginning to prove it, if not have proved it. So thank you once again. This all sounds like incredibly hard work. And I know you're laughing because we already went over that question. And I said, yeah, I am going to call it. It is hard work. So let me ask you, what keeps you all motivated?
David,
Beth, you want to start us off?
Go back.
I know you're all going to fight with each other of who speaks.
No, I know. I want to hear Beth though. Beth.
Okay.
Oh my goodness, David! I didn't let you speak.
Yeah, I
I'm
was
already
gonna
off
say
to a
that.
great
I was
start.
like, Jacob.
Okay,
You gotta let
David.
David speak.
that's okay. All right, let's do a quick one. I also grew up on a farm too. So to follow on with what Keith said, I grew up on a farm, and I think part of growing up on a farm and having land to play on and barns to build in and all kinds of stuff kind of really engaged my creativity. And then it was when I had a chance to start working on computers when I was a kid, still on the farm, that I discovered that you could use zeros and ones in coding to actually be creative as well. And that really kicked off my career working in technology, and my specialty is marketing. So I've been working in technology companies for the most part throughout my career, having a chance to build companies, build products, and travel around the world. So, and all living here in New Brunswick. So that's a bit about me with me, and it kind of inspired. That's where a bit of the inspiration came from for Brilliant Labs early on. Was my chance encounter with coding was really random, and so it was, rather than leaving everyone's chance, a random chance that they might kind of stumble on coding, it was, how do we get this in the school system? How do we get maker spaces and being creative back into the school system? So it's been awesome to see what the Brilliant Labs team has done over the years and the impact that they've had. So it warms my heart, and it's really great that there's so many future entrepreneurs that are interested in this kind of thing in the school system.
Awesome.
All right, so now Beth,
All right.
what motivates you?
How do I stay motivated? That's a good question. I'm gonna be really honest and vulnerable right now. It's hard, and especially like I'm a yes person, so a lot of times I'll get busy doing other things, and honestly, it's unrealistic to think that. I mean, some people do, but it's unrealistic for me, at least, to think that you're going to be able to give 100% of your time all the time to your business and to your venture, like all the time, just like constantly. That's unfortunately, like sometimes you'll get burnt out, and sometimes it just won't go anywhere. So for me, I found I kind of go in like peaks and valleys. Like sometimes, like over quarantine, I had the opportunity to work like super hard, and that's when I launched a website and I got in contact with a bunch of different stores. But I think it's about putting the passion behind it, and that's what fuels your motivation. Like for me, the website was super hard for me because I'm a face-to-face person, and I like making the connection with my customers and making the connection with the people in the cycling community that I'm helping. So I think it's all about like how do you stay motivated. I think like you find your passion within your venture, and then you just chase after the passion and you just focus on that. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Well, I think you're absolutely right, Beth. It's really hard to stay 100% on your venture or on your business or anything 100% all the time. But I think that you have, there's ups and there's downs, but you have a core passion, or if you have a core set of beliefs that pulls you back to that. And, you know, I think, you know, David and I both have done big international or you know, at least transcontinent businesses, and doing it from New Brunswick. And my passion has always been to be here in New Brunswick and to bring work into New Brunswick and be able to do it from here. And as every time it gets a little bit hard, you remember that you're doing something that makes a difference in your community. That's what pulls me back. But no matter what you're doing, if you're an entrepreneur, whatever that passion, that belief in that you're trying to make a difference, or the belief that you're going to be successful and get rich, whatever it is, on the downtime, you need to sort of be careful that on the up times it doesn't pull you too far up. But it's also what you can lean on the harder times to bring you back to your core.
I'd say that there's one thing, and I'm sure Beth and Keith would relate to this, is you surround yourself with great people too. People that are passionate about what you'd like to, how you'd like to change the world with your product, with your idea, with your service. So, you know, share your idea, find others that want to be part of that kind of, think of it almost like a movement of change, and a product may come out of that. So in fact, it was the day after I kind of threw out the idea saying, is it possible to get going back into the school system? And because the idea was out there, all kinds of people started like messaging me and saying, how can we get involved? And literally that helped kind of really spawn Brilliant Labs approach, which is, you know, find all these people that are passionate about change and bringing this kind of thing into the school system. And then let's all work together and figure out how we can co-create this, right? And I think the other thing that I would suggest too is you don't have to have everything perfect with your idea when you get started. It's really about leaning into it and then starting with one thing, just one thing, one call, one email, one piece, do a little bit of research, and learn every day. So you don't have to have the perfect plan. You just have to kind of iterate. So it's almost like, you know, if you're playing pool, you know, the way you're playing pool, you have to get the ball from one side all the way over to the other side, get it perfectly in the pocket. Well, that's kind of like, you know, if you're aiming, you want to hit one shot, then you'd have to try to get it in. And if you missed it, you missed it. And it was like, oh no, I missed it. But the other way, and this is not the way you play pool. Maybe you can when you want to be, but imagine instead, you could just kind of tap the ball and it would start to go, and then you could kind of tap it on either side and call you as you went along, and you'd learn, okay, that little tap got me closer, and eventually put the ball in the pocket. To me, that's more of the approach you want to take when you're building a startup.
You've seen me play golf, haven't you, David?
That's kind of how I play golf too.
I love what you guys are talking about, because those little corrections that you can make, you know, with your pool analogy, aren't those so much easier when you have people, when you have other friends and family, collaborators that you can call on, and those self-corrections allow your initiatives, your ventures to become much more sustainable, don't they?
Oh yeah, 100%. I think it's so important also to have mentors, like business mentors. Like Van Beek has heard this story so many times, but I have this one mentor, Emily, and I met her at a business networking event. Those are really cool. Go to those if you have the opportunity. And she was a former cyclist, and she was in an accident. And talking to her, she's a very successful businesswoman. Like, she's amazing. And just talking to her reignited like the passion that I had for the idea. And it kind of brings you back to your roots when you like really get to talk to that mentor who like believes in you, or when you get to talk to that community. It just like fires you up so much, and it just gives you so much motivation, and just it can help you so much by having a good mentor who has done it before you. Especially like if you're a younger entrepreneur, like you're brand new, like it's so much easier when you have somebody who's done it before, when you're not, that'd be like playing pool with like a blindfold on, like just not knowing, just like kind of like going at it. But when you have a mentor, they can kind of be like, oh, like maybe try it and walk over here or do something like that, you know? So mentors are super important, and they really help you stay motivated as well.
So I don't know, we didn't plan this, but Beth's doing a wonderful job of setting me up for what I want to say. And I want to follow on to that, is that having a mentor never stops. I started in business, and I was the young guy at the table, and now I'm the old guy at the table, and I still rely and look for mentors and contributors all along. And as you obviously, if you're in grade 6 and grade 7, probably your mentors are going to be older than you, but that's not necessarily a requirement either. I mean, one of the things that we're doing is we're taking computer software training into First Nations, and we're trying to take it into First Nations schools, and I don't know how kids think, or I don't know how to best to relate to people in a different province, a different setting. So I end up, one of the secrets to our success is being reaching out and building mentors within the younger generation. So mentorship is always thought of as being older, somebody older than you, or somebody's been there before doing it. But I think that it can also be, mentorship can come from your peers, or mentorship can come from people much younger than you too.
And one of the things that when I talk to a lot of startups and companies that are forming, is that is to find your tribe. Like literally find the people that really are passionate. Like, there will be people around you that will be passionate to help you, but there are people all over the world that literally can be passionate about an idea, right? So in the great thing about today is that you can use Google to find them. You can go on LinkedIn to find them. You can search conferences and see who's talking about a similar topic. So like Beth could literally say, what other articles about other people or manufacturers that are doing something similar, or people that are passionate about safety for bikers, you know what I mean, when they're biking. So, and then she could reach out to them, much like, with Emily and her advising, she could find others across the world that do that. And those people could introduce her to people in, let's say, manufacturing or people in retail in other parts of the world that would say, we'd love to have your product. Or if you change this little thing here, then we'll take, 1,000 units or something. So it's really kind of a journey, and it's exciting because you're going to find people that are just as passionate about what you're doing, and you won't feel alone. You'll feel like you're part of like this awesome community that really wants to see that idea form.
This is we must have practiced this. This is a really great segue, to find people, to share your passion with others. There are huge topics going on all the time, but particularly right now, that link to socially responsible enterprise and sustainability. And I am sure that mentorship and collaboration fit in there. But we wanted to ask you a little bit about, what are your thoughts on entrepreneurialism, your ventures that you have partaken in, and how is it that you maintain a sense of social responsibility and sustainability?
All right, I guess I'm going to start again. So, well, I mean, the community that you serve is the heart of your business. Like, your customer is what makes your business really succeed. And I think that the fact of being socially aware is like, you want to make sure your customer is having a good experience, because that's what's going to keep them coming back and keep on recommending you. So I think in being socially aware, it's crucial, because people are starting to talk about the environmental impacts of packaging. Like, I know now that when I go to a store, I'm going to pick something with less packaging versus something that has like a bunch of plastic wrap about it. So there you just like lost one sale. So I think it's about making the best experience for the customer, and also the best experience for the world, because your world is your oyster, so you got to make sure that it's there and that it's healthy, because all of us are pretty young and we got a future, and we got to look after that future. And that means that our businesses, and even David and Keith's businesses, have to be responsible and sustainable, so that we have a future, so that we can come up with more great ideas. So yeah, you guys can.
Thanks, Beth. David, Keith?
Keith, you want to, I mean, your business is really kind of tied into the idea of building that kind of ecosystem of sustainability.
So we talked about this in chats throughout this week about sustainability. My business is a social impact business. We're taking training to First Nations, Indigenous, First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people all across Canada to bring them access to the technology world. So we teach them the skills they need to be able to get a job in technology. And you can do that anywhere you have a broadband, anywhere you have an internet connection. And that's the social impact part about it. And then when we talk about sustainability, I know most people when they hear sustainability, it's about the green, green and the earth and making sure that we're still here. Well, I take sustainability to be a little bit different. I think that socially impact businesses, in order to be sustainable, have to make money. They have to be able to support themselves. So I think, as I said before, entrepreneurship, business, and social impact are all one and the same. You need to have viable ways of supporting the business and bringing that change. We run a class. The class makes money, and then allows us to run another class somewhere else, or allows us to run 2 classes somewhere else and take jobs further and further around. So every time we work with a client, be it a bank or an oil company or anything, we're taking that business idea and extending it and further our social ideas as well. I think every business in Canada, or most businesses in Canada, really want to be part of that. The idea of a robber baron, or it's just about making money, is going away. It's less now than it was before, I think, and the next generation will be different still. How do you attract people to come work for you? People want to feel they're doing something. It's not just about a paycheck. It's not just about getting that next big car. It's about leaving the world a little bit better. And we have 200 people that are here partly for the reason that they want to be able to feel they're doing their part. And that's really rewarding. That you talk about what motivates you, to be able to see that other people agree with that feel that that's an important part of business, that's what motivates. That's a very motivating thing for me.
If you get a chance to think of something that really you're passionate about. So if you're passionate about saving the planet in terms of plastics, if you're passionate about making sure that every person reaches their full potential, tackling poverty, there's all kinds of ways that you can take an existing product that people, this is getting at what Keith's saying, we all spend money to get stuff in order to live our lives. So we have to buy food, we have to pay rent, eventually when you get older, your parents are paying that, you have to buy insurance, there's all these things you have to generally buy, because way back before money, people would do all their own stuff and they would trade things. But now today, the world, exchanges money in order to exchange things that they need, right? And people specialize in stuff. So if you're going to spend $1, where would you rather spend $1, assuming that the product or the service is of equal value?
Yeah.
Would you rather spend it with a company that's just focused only on making money? Or would you like to spend your $1 on a company that makes money, but also is designed in a way to have a bigger impact on a thing that you're very passionate about? So the idea is, like in Keith's case, software companies all need to be able to test their software. It's a thing that they need to do. Everyone does. Some of them do it inside their companies. Some need extra help. And so companies like what Keith created have the ability to test software for companies as for their clients. But so there's all kinds of competitors out there. But in the case of Keith was saying, well, you know what? At the same time, there's many people living on First Nations communities and Indigenous communities that don't necessarily have an opportunity to, let's say, figure out a career that they want, or a path that they want, or find a purpose, or they're not necessarily having access to certain type of training. So by him partnering with those communities and saying, what if we could train you on how to test software, and we could give you a career path, and we could give you a chance to kind of create a mission of what you want to do, and others can join you, And then you can test software, and that will give a chance for people to have an opportunity, rather than spending it on a traditional company that tests software. You can still get your software testing done, but now you're impacting and giving careers to a community that needs a leg up right now in order to kind of get a kickstart into where they want to go in their life. So if you can think of ideas like that, those are powerful things, and they're a great, call them competitive advantage in the world, because people really do want to see how they can use their dollar to make an impact.
It's the same product, same cost, twice the value.
Right on.
Double value.
The impact, or many times the impact.
It's absolutely incredible to, to have a little bit of insight beyond what is sitting onto a shelf. And it can be incredibly powerful for a social impact. And one of the things at Brilliant Labs that we are really proud of is to see all of the stories of youth and student empowerment behind initiatives. And I guess that's me making a segue, but you're doing it for me into the next question. I'd like to hear all three of your thoughts. No, all of your thoughts, three of you. You can have more than three. On what's the role of youth in student empowerment?
Wow, I don't know. Youth are the future. I mean, and I don't know. I've had multiple different experiences, and all of you guys who start ventures will have them, where some people are like, wow, that's so amazing. I'll take all of your stock, like keep going, that's amazing. And then you'll have some people who are like, oh, that's cute. Who's the real person behind this business? And I'm going to be completely honest with you, like those are both answers that you're going to get. And I think that the role that we as youth have in entrepreneurship and in society and in sustainability is everything. I think our role matters so much more than people let on that it does. I think that youth need to be more educated on the UN SDGs and the problems that are going on in this world. I know that Brilliant Labs values, that's something that I worked for Brilliant Labs this summer, by the way, and that's our core thing. We teach UN SDGs on the first day and every day after that. And I think that's so important because youth have the power to take their ideas and run with them. And youth have so much resilience, and they don't have to worry about, sometimes they don't have to worry about paying the bills and making ends meet. So oftentimes it's only about that sustainable, it's only about who you're helping. And I think that's so important. And I think you should never let anybody tell you that because you're young that you cannot pursue a certain venture. No matter how old you are or what background you come from, if you are passionate about something, then you work hard about it, I believe, or you work hard at it, you can do it, So I think our role is everything. I think it's so important, and I think you can do it.
You sound pretty passionate about that, Beth.
Yeah.
How old is old enough? Why is there, what's the role of youth in social impact and entrepreneurship? I've heard exactly the question, but really the question is, what's the role of people? Why? Is there a what's the defining line? Is it 12? Is it 20? Is it 30? I don't think there is a dividing line. It's, are you interested? Are you willing to contribute? Are you capable? Are willing to contribute? And then that's what matters, right? It's not how old you are. It's how much you can bring, what you're willing to bring to the table, what you're willing to try to do. And youth have more at stake in it. You have more time to do it right, to try and learn, and you do it right or you do it wrong. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing. I was gonna say there's nothing wrong in being wrong. I'm not quite sure what their wording it is, but don't be afraid. You shouldn't be afraid of failure. Failure is a learning experience. I don't think you necessarily aim to fail, but everybody's going to make mistakes. No matter whether you're 10 or 50 or 70, you're going to make mistakes. It's not being afraid to contribute and learn and go forward and put all your energy and your passion into what you want to do.
And I think Beth made a great point. While you're still, not having to worry about paying the bills necessarily, right? You're still at home, or at that point, you can focus all your energy. You're still at school, obviously, to focus on, but the extra energy you have, you don't have to worry about these other aspects right now. So you can literally invest in those ideas that you have while to give you a bit of a kickstart. And as Keith was saying, you know, you can try things. If you make few little mistakes now, it's learning. So that just means, like, for example, in Beth's case, she might be in grade 11, but she's learned some stuff that literally people in their 30s and 40s eventually learn. She's learning it now because she's trying stuff. So the more you try now, the more you're going to have that advantage. And she's also clued into the fact too that when you connect with mentors, they can help kind of guide you too. They can give you some tips on maybe skipping, you know, making a mistake, you know, and as long as, or you kind of check a decision with them and they're like, well, what about this? Have you thought of that? And they're like, oh, you know, I haven't thought of that. Well, you just learned from not having to do the mistake, but you learned the knowledge from someone else. And the thing is, we're lucky here in Atlantic Canada. We have a community that really does like supporting young entrepreneurs, young innovators, because we've been there ourselves. So we want to see that the next generation really flourish, because that just makes this place a better place to live, and we impact the world faster. So the more the merrier, really.
It sounds like all of you are saying that real world problems don't have an age requirement.
No, they don't.
Not at all. Real world problems affect everybody, so everybody should contribute to the solution.
Yeah, if you're a member of the real world, then
Right.
Yeah, exactly. You know, sometimes I think when adults get in, you know, adult world, they start forgetting, you know, that if you empower the younger generation with like, here's a problem, can you run with it? They forget that if you do that, they'll step up, they'll tackle it, and they'll want to learn. So it's kind of like adults need to change that view. And at the same time, sometimes when you're in school, you start thinking, well, I'm in school, so I have to wait till I'm out of school. And then when I'm out of school, I have to go to university, so I have to wait till I'm out of university before I do stuff. No, you don't need to. It's whenever you want to start, whenever you feel inspired, whenever you have a small idea and you can start to get the ball rolling, go for it. Just start it. You don't have to, there's no waiting involved. You don't need to wait.
Beth, do you share those thoughts?
Yeah, I actually did a TED talk on that. So if you want to go, I talked about, like, in school, you're kind of taught that there's like this line, like you go, you get good grades, and then you go to university, and then you get good grades in university, and then you go work and you get a really like high paying job, and then you get super rich and you live in a big house, and then when you retire, then you do community service, or then you do that. But I think, like, when you're in that line, you forget that there's stuff going on. Like, there's a climate crisis going on. There's a wage gap going on. Like, there's a bunch of stuff. There's a bunch of issues that are affecting our future and affecting and I'm so guilty of that. I'm so guilty of getting caught up in grades and caught up in B's and C's. But, like, don't ever let your ideas or your ventures be squashed by B's, C's, or honorable mentions, like, ever. Like, you have the power and, like, you can do it. I said that before, but I just want to, like, you can do it.
Beth,
Yeah.
David and Keith, why did we invite you? Beth, you've got this.
I don't know.
This is absolutely incredible, and thank you for being honest, Beth. And that TED Talk, by the way, check it out. It's incredible. This is not the end of our panel. In fact, while we were speaking, these questions have come in. Out of respect for our panelists, Beth, David, and Keith, we're going to give them a few moments. All of you can see those questions, correct? Okay, we're going to give you a few moments to read over them. And Simon, if you are listening, I believe you're located in St. John at our Idea Center. If you want to open up your camera, you can ask it yourself.
come on up here, Simon.
I guess I could have prompted you a little bit more, huh?
Say hello.
Hey,
Hey, Simon, thanks for joining us. Go ahead whenever you're ready.
so I'm Simon. My question is, what do you know now that you wish you knew when you were starting out? What's like some advice, or what do you know now that you wish you knew before?
I can I'll take that one, David. I'll start that one. I mean, I realize now I'm in a hurry now. I'm running out of time. I wish that I had more time, but I really wish I'd started I wish that someone when I was in grade 8 or 7 or 10 or whatever had told me you could go do this, and that you should try. I wish I'd started 20 years sooner. So I know now that you can. I know that the effort and that you shouldn't be afraid, and the effort is worth it. But it took me a long time to learn that you could make a difference. One person could make a difference. That one person's efforts could go. So that's an easy one for me. I wish I'd started 25 years sooner.
I'm going to take a bit of a different twist on it. I only started to understand the power of relationships, like connections and relationships, as I got older. And I wish, whenever I get a chance to speak, and I'm doing this right now, whenever I get a chance to speak to classes, I say, think about those connections that you're making. And the fact is that it's like planting a seed. You're going to probably, if you're staying in the Maritimes, or even if you're not, those relationships and learning and connections and kind of friendships that you create with people that are passionate about those same ideas or your community, they're going to still be there. I know it's harder to see that. Like the older you get, the more, I guess, perspective you get looking back and saying, I met that person like 25 years ago, and yet we've worked together like 7 different times on 7 different projects, right? Because we really click. So I think if you click with some people and you really get passionate about it, know that those relationships continue to build with those people, continue to work with them, continue to invest in those relationships and widen those connections. It's so powerful because then, when you need to try to figure something out, you have people you can rely on, you can reach out and connect with, right? So invest in relationships. That's what I would say.
So I'm gonna now that David's prompting me, I'm gonna go back and say I learned something else that I think is really important, and that is that you can ask anybody for any help, anything. I mean, I have the project I'm doing on the side, and we asked David to come and talk to us a month ago or a few weeks ago about that. People are absolutely willing to throw in and get their hands dirty and help you out if you ask them. And you don't have to be. You shouldn't be. In fact, most people want to be asked. It makes you feel good to be asked can I help you? And so don't be afraid to ask. People especially it took me a long time to learn that. You look up at the titans of businesses, the McCains or the Irvings or whoever, the David Alstons and Marcel LeBruns that have done that. Every single person is honored to be asked to help. They might not be able to help, but they will try. They'll consider it's an honor to be asked to help. So I wish I'd learned that a long time ago that it's okay to ask for help, or ask for advice, or ask for a direction. Just could you point me to the right person, or could you make the right introduction? People will do it if they can.
And Beth, what do you wish you'd known before you were starting out?
Well, oh man. That I agree with all of that, especially what Keith is saying about it's okay to not know, it's okay to ask for help. I wish I would have known that the more you put in, the more you're gonna get out at the start. Because I feel like awards and plaques and stuff like that can kind of you can almost get wrapped up in them a little bit. And especially STEM fairs, I love them so much, but it's not always just about the medal or the grade that you get at the end of it. So I kind of wish that I would have known that you get what you put in. That kind of spins off, but here, I'm going to tell a little story. So when I was first starting out, I just wanted to get a really good grade on my STEM project, and I am super competitive, so I kind of wanted to beat out this one group of this one pair. I was like, I'm going to be better than them. I'm going to win. I'm going to do. So that was where I started out. I had the wrong intentions, but so I wish I would have known. So I worked super hard, and then I got a really good grade, and then here we are. I met Jeff Wilson. I got in touch with Brilliant Labs, and then 3 years later, I was in the Idea Center course, and then I launched a website. So I wish I would have known that the more effort you put into it, the more fruit you're going to see, the more stuff you're going to see happening. Because if you're not really going to work that hard and you're just kind of going to let things pass by and opportunities pass by, then you're not going to get that much out of it, if that makes sense. So that's kind of like a long tangent, but you get what you put in.
No, that's great. Thanks for being so honest, Beth. And Simon, thank you very much for your question. We're looking at the time here, and Willow, if you don't mind, we do have time to hear from your question, and we have so many more questions that are coming in, and maybe if our panelists don't mind, perhaps we can assemble a few answers and send them out in a follow-up panel. I mean, you said ask for help, right?
Yep.
Or we can each, maybe what we can do is one person can take each question. We'll go rather than all three. And if we want to add a couple words, we can. That might be
sure. Well, why don't we get Willow to, if you're ready to unmute your mic and you could ask your question. After you answer that, we're going to just mention a few things, including an exciting challenge that we have for all of you listening. So Willow, are you ready to ask?
Yeah. In what industries do you see opportunities for entrepreneurs in New Brunswick or Atlantic Canada?
Perfect. Thank you. I'll open it to anyone.
David, why don't you take that one?
Well, I think it's a good question because sometimes certain industries have more opportunities because they're kind of growing and stuff like that. Though I will say this: what's interesting in terms, obviously, we're in the middle of a pandemic. And the thing about the pandemic is it's literally disrupted an entire planet. Every process, every business, every organization, all literally turn on their head. And a lot of them are kind of stuck trying to figure out how they adapt to that kind of stuff. So with every one of those organizations that's stuck, they need to be unstuck if they want to survive, in terms of keep on growing and come out of the pandemic. And at the same time, because so many procedures have changed and so many things are like not what they used to be, it creates a lot of opportunities for ideas to flourish and try to kind of fit into the new gaps. So literally where it might have taken, 10 years before we'd be doing these kind of things in school, right? Having this kind of conferencing and stuff like that, it's now happened just like that. So will we go back to exactly the way classes are taught again? Probably not. And maybe that's probably a good thing. There's some things that are going to change because of that. So the other thing about it too, it's almost like if there were companies out there that had a head start, they were leading, everyone's now moved back to the starting line because of this. And we're all kind of like waiting it out, like in terms of and trying to figure out what's happening. So if you've got an idea and like to create a business or an idea that could turn into a business, this is the time to start thinking about it and to start to kind of like find a way to see how you could create it. I know it sounds crazy. You would probably say, well, why would you ever create a business in the middle of a pandemic? That's the craziest thing ever. But in fact, a lot of the most successful businesses started during recessions and started during these kinds of major disruption events. And because if you can make it work now too, when you come out of the other side, you can just run like crazy, right? So now's the time to do your planning and start thinking about it. So really, almost anywhere you could be looking at opportunities. It's whatever you're passionate about. Thanks, Willow. Good question.
Yeah, incredible questions. We are going to be doing a hard stop of this. It's terrible to do a hard stop at 2:15, but with 2 minutes, and this is a conversation that can continue on and on. Simon and Willow, thank you so much. And thank you to Nima, Dustin, and Isaac for these questions. We assure you that we are committing to answer these questions and so many more via our website in the time that we have left. And maybe our panelists can reflect on what we're about to announce here and offer some words before 2:15. Anyway, Brilliant Labs has always supported innovative challenges and thrown them out to our students and teachers and all of our educational stakeholders across Atlantic Canada. And today, we would like to launch a new one. And so it is a sustainable entrepreneurial design challenge. And my colleagues are going to post, right, Beth? Your face does it all. This is super exciting because, as you heard from our panelists, we have so much talent here in Atlantic Canada that we can use to harness whatever idea. And if you are sitting on a moment to come for that call to make, to get out there and initiate your idea, this is that call. So our Sustainable Entrepreneurial Design Challenge and all of the details can be found at brilliantlabs.ca/sustainable design. And we're going to do a follow-up email to all of the accounts that registered for this event today with that information, including information on our next speaker series coming up at the beginning of November. It is 2:15. For those of you who have to jump off for a hard stop, thank you so much for joining us. Panelists, in 5 seconds or less, what do you think of this Sustainable Entrepreneurial Design Challenge?
I like it.
Yeah, go for it.
Do it.
A huge thank you to everyone. David, Keith, Beth, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy days to join us. All three of you, we did not give you enough time to introduce all of the things that you have done. Please, for everyone listening, find out more about Beth's Bike Light, David's latest project, Keith's dedication to a lifetime of social entrepreneurialism. And it's been a pleasure to chat with three of you. David, I feel like I've glossed over some of the things that you're working on, but you're such a friend to Brilliant Labs and a co-founder, and we really appreciate all of the work that you've done for education, for allowing us to be. And I know that you're humble, and it's all of our students and teachers that allow Brilliant Labs to do the work.
That's exactly right. And so it's an honor. I'm sure all three of us, it's an honor for us to be part of this and to kind of throw in some ideas, and hopefully it's inspired some of the next generation of innovators to go for it.
Well, as we say, Keith, go ahead.
Thank you very much for having me on this. As David says, an honor. It's always a pleasure to be able to share some ideas and be inspired by the people that are listening. So thank you.
Keep up the good work, Beth. Keep rocking it.
Bye.
You may see more of Beth coming up here soon. We are going to be having some after-school sessions coming out soon. So please keep up with all the initiatives of Brilliant Labs via our social medias. And as we say, let's get out there and make something brilliant.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, folks. I'm going to stop the recording. Thank you so much for everyone for joining us.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
And panelists, it's just us now. Well, and the 35 users that are still on.
All right. Well, we'll let everyone get back to work. All right. Thanks, guys. See
Wonderful.
you.
Thanks very much, guys.